You know when you had that feeling when you're really close to finishing a base you've been working on for a very long time? That's kind of where I am, because we're pretty much on the brink of actually doing that. There's a lot of big things we need to worry about, there's a few small things we need to worry about, but one of the most important things, I think, we really need to think about is a proper entrance, and for the longest time, I've been just using this entranceway through this cave, and while I do still think I'll be using it, like, at some points, especially considering the fact that it connects this top part to the lower part of the cave base, I do think we really need to focus on getting, like, some form of proper entrance, and I feel like Duba actually started something all the way over here a little while ago, which I think was somewhere around, yeah, right here, where it goes all the way up, connects right the way to the top of his main little base area. And I do really like what he's doing right here, but I feel like maybe the lower you get, the more, like, I don't know, crystallized it gets or something like that. Because I do really like how clean it is, but at the same time, I feel like it'd probably benefit with, like, some form of training down here, which we could probably find a way in funneling it into the main cave base over there. And maybe having another layer connecting into Crystopia up here, with possibly waterways too. There's a lot of things to worry about with this entrance. It seems like a simple thing, but there's plenty we need to think about with this thing. Now, I'm not 100% sure as to how I want to do this, but I have, like, vague ideas, like, inklings of what I want to do, like, in the back of my head. Where, again, higher up, it's still pretty square and things like that, but then lower down, there's more, like, crystalline things or, you know, terraining stuff down here. With maybe some generation that looks a little more, not spherical, but a little more uneven, if you want to call it that. Okay, this still feels really square, but it does feel like you are getting kind of funneled into the lower part of the cave. And I know we have this connection right here to, like, the upper part, but I feel like I kind of want to, like, add one a little bit higher up. Well, again, keeping everything relatively square, but then having some curves going into the main parts of the cave. I think maybe something like this will probably do something like that. Gotta connect the path from that side, but, you know, it's something. I remember at one point feeling like I was done with this training types of things, with all the hexagon crystal amethyst thing, but no, not quite. Best not to assume anything's done until it's actually physically done. Well, I can at least say this part's done, and it's nothing too special, like, it's everything else we've seen out there, just inside of here. With a pretty hard edge stop right there, as well as the fact that right behind this wall there is an amethyst geode that I do still want to use just in case, so just for that situation, I did add a little, entrance and exit way we can see right here. But now, big question, really big question. We have access from the lower part of the cave to the upper part of the cave using this staircase we can see right here. How are we going to get access from the cave to the surface? Because we have the hole, we have elytras, which we obviously use, but in the case someone doesn't have an elytra, how are they going to make that happen? I mean, I could add water like what I did before in my old entrance and exit. Or, okay, what's Duba doing up here? So he has a crane that's going down that looks like, okay, this is an excavation site, obviously. Maybe what we could do is have, like, a spiral staircase going around the outside, linking all the way down to the bottom. Or if not all the way down to the bottom, maybe at least down to the upper level of the cave. Because don't mines, like, or at least certain mines have, like, some form of staircase or some form of elevator or something like that getting up and down? Well, obviously, but in our case, I think a staircase would work for here. We got the crane that will go from the top all the way to the bottom, but I think for us, for the people going up and down, we should do a staircase. Okay, this is actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Like, I knew this was going to be easy, but I wasn't expecting, like, this level of easy. And I can't say it looks bad right now, but it just looks simple, especially compared to, like, everything else Duba does around here. And while I might not be as talented as Duba when it comes to building, I do have to at least try adding some Duba flares around the place. Well, you can definitely tell that this is my work and not Duba's. But, you know, it's at a point where I can live with it. And if I'm honest, this entranceway was just, like, one small thing I wanted to do today. The big thing today was actually on the surface, because for the longest time, Duba has been building right above me, right atop this one city. And while there has been tons of really good and really impressive things, I've never really made my mark up here that much. On top of there being just quite a few just incomplete things around the place, and you know, I'm not blaming Duba on anything like that, but I will say it would be nice to see this part up here be a little bit more complete. Even though this city isn't part of my base, it kind of is at the same time. It feels like it's in a gray zone in my opinion, but I think even a gray zone deserves at least some attention from me. And I think the first things I kind of want to do is just level more of this terrain down, because from the looks of things, what Duba was doing was like sort of trying to do something like that. Like you could kind of tell this road was meant to go somewhere and then it just ended. Or actually, maybe I shouldn't level it, but instead like have it be a gradual slope up. Everything I'm doing up here, I'm just asking myself one thing. What would Duba do? And I feel like if I were Duba, I would make it a gradual slope up rather than it just being like a hard flattening. That would also be less work for me. You know, actually, as I'm mining this out, I just realized something. Like, what's this thing around here supposed to be? My best guess is it's gonna be some place people can walk around the top. Oh yeah, definitely. So I don't know if Duba wants that removed or not, and I don't know if I want to take the chance. But an area like this, on the other hand, I mean, it's begging us to mine this down a little bit. I mean, come on. And I just want to mine things out just for the sake of it. I also kind of want to possibly, if I could find a spot, build some of my own buildings. Maybe. Just maybe in a way that won't get in Duba's way or something like that. But, okay, first things first. Let's focus on the digging. Let's focus on the digging. And after about 2 days of pretty much nothing but mining, we've pretty much flattened this entire area out. Sure, there's a few edges on the side that still need working on, but generally speaking, I think we could work with this, and I think Duba could work with this if he still has plans on adding more cities and buildings and things like that. And speaking of which, instead of just straight away trying to build like my own buildings or something like that, I kind of want to see if I can at least like work a little bit on his current buildings he has. Because again, apart from like some things he's done recently, such as that building over there, I've not really seen like too much work being done to like these existing buildings. So it might be worth just giving it a try, just trying to see what I could do with these buildings and see if I can complete it to the point where Duba was planning on completing it at. I know before I asked myself what Duba would do in this scenario, and instead of like imitating him, I actually have to be him at this point now, which is no easy task like whatsoever in any sense of that word. But at least in certain cases, it looks like there's just enough to know what Duba was thinking and how he wanted to do it. At least that's what I'm telling myself, because otherwise I'm struggling. To put it simply, I'm struggling. But so far, at least, you can't really tell what Duba built and what I built, I think. Let's just hope that continues as I continue building upwards. Alright, what do we think about this? I think that this, possibly, perhaps, actually looks pretty good. Like, honestly, if you didn't know I built that, that almost looks like a Duba build. Actually, it is a Duba build. It is, like, physically a Duba build. The inside, on the other hand, well, there's not really an inside right now. And I might change that later, but I think just for right now, we're just gonna worry about, like, the buildings themselves, and then maybe leave the interiors for Duba or something like that. I'm really going back and forth as to whether I want to do these interiors or not. Like, this is Duba's base, but at the same time, I could probably do some half-decent interior jobs. I still don't know about that, but at least our priorities right now are not interiors. Alright, I think I have, for the most part, these two buildings done. I don't know how I never got this, but all these buildings are just connected right next to each other. Meaning whatever's coming next is gonna have to do the same, and I'll worry about that later, because for now... Actually, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna do this with a huge, like, gold farm on top? Like, that's actually a pretty big problem. How are we gonna work around this? You know what, I think for now, we'll work our way up to that problem, and we'll get to it when we get to it. Well, I filled in this wall, and I still really don't know what to do up here. Or actually, wait, I think I see... Okay, hold on, I think I'm seeing a pattern here. That took me way too long to notice, but this band we can see right here is probably a sign of repetition happening. So we build this window, that band, that window, band, window, band, window, band, window, band. I assume that's what Duba was going for with this building, and that's what I'm gonna assume I do for the rest of this building. Okay, this is the last time I assume anything when it comes to Duba and his builds. Because, you know, I was making some half-decent progress building everything until I ran into the redstone of this entire gold farm, which you could probably tell made adding like windows and things like that a little bit tricky, if you want to put it that way. But something I didn't even realize was up here was a whole bunch of villagers up here, because right in that box, bunch of villagers. Why? And I guess Duba was gonna try making this into an iron farm too, but then just for some reason it never worked out. Which is actually probably why we've been seeing villagers in the nether for some reason. And while I could try building around this, I kind of don't want to mess up anything Duba has planned for this. Even though it's kind of obvious to tell what his plan is with this building. That, and also, again, this is his base. I don't want to do every single thing for him. He has 100% custody of his base while I have, I don't know, 25-50% custody of this part of the base. And I guess same thing goes for the crystal base down below for him. This building, not a clue what he was planning on doing, so I'm probably not going to touch that. But the thing across the river, I might be able to replicate that on that side, maybe. I was going to say this is relatively simple, but, you know, for Duba's standards, it's relatively simple. Which means for me, this should just be a little tricky. Just a little bit. You know what? That actually really does balance out this entire building, huh? There's other parts that still need some balancing out, but generally it is a little bit more balanced. And I have gone around and done a few other things, such as finish up that hot air balloon and build up some stone bricks around the place. And while I could go around and like 100% finish Duba's base and builds and everything that he started, I kind of want to see if I could add one of my own. Again, probably just the exterior, but I want to see if maybe I could build a building right next to this one, which is, it matches it, but it's different enough to make it feel like it's its own thing. And I know it looks like Duba was planning something here, and I don't know if he's still planning on it or not. Like this market we can see right here, it's been here for like months right at this point, like seriously. So I don't think Duba would mind too much if I were to build just a little something here, just a small skyscraper building of my own here. If he does, I'll happily move it someplace else. But until he does, let's actually get this thing built up. A decent amount of building later, we'd ended up with this building we can see right here, and I really tried making it seem like it actually fit inside of here, and I think generally speaking, as long as you don't really look on the side, I think it does. And again, to keep in with the theme of the other buildings, I've not really done any interior work or anything like that. And also I think what I did for Duba's part of the base has ended up with something that looks just really, like, well done in my opinion. Again, Duba owns 100% custody, I own like 10, 20-ish% or something like that, but I think my 10 or 20-ish% has ended up with quite some good-looking builds and things like that. And if we step back and take a look, clearly there is a lot more that needs to be done, but I think for my part, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm really happy with it. And I assume Duba's gonna be pretty happy with what he did today too, and wait a minute. Is there someone building something out there? Like, that's definitely some form of structure, something like that off in the distance, right? I don't know, maybe it's part of like an ocean monument base, or what? Wait a minute, no, how? What, how did, wait, no, this is, no, what?